Wednesday. Bedlam at the Bank. All that and much more coming up today on PHLY Phillies podcast. Tune in. Grades that we are sharing with you guys here on PHLY Phillies podcast. Welcome in. Happy Wednesday. We've got JP Zapata joining us as producer today. We've got Jamie Lynch, myself, Renee Washington, and this edition of PHLY Phillies is brought to you guys by Ace Hardware Home Services. Make sure to check out acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. All right, today we've got lots to get into. We're going to shift our grades into the outfield as we will talk Kyle Schwarber, Austin Hayes, Johan Rojas. And then group 2 of the outfield will be tomorrow. We're also going to take a look around, take a trip down memory lane, I should say, as some special events happened today, 2 years ago, and plus some other things going on around baseball.
Young and full of optimism and hope, exactly. Renee. I remember those days.
Speaking of optimism and hope, if you guys are optimistic and hopeful for wanting to get more great content here in Philly, we actually have a great limited time offer for you that you can check out today. Don't waste time. Go check it out. We've got a deal coming your way for anybody that's interested in being a diehard, where you can get unlimited access and exclusive perks for just $48 in your first year, which amounts to about $4 per month. A nice discount for you that cuts that annual fee pretty much in half. And for anybody interested in becoming a diehard, it gets you our free t-shirt. It gets you access to all of our articles. We have a lot of content that is free that you can always check out. But if you wanted to get access to our Discord, access to all of our articles, such as the film breakdown by our buddy Fran Duffy, or any of the articles by our tremendous writers that we have here, all of that is available as a diehard. So today, upgrade your fandom, become a diehard, and take advantage of that limited time offer of just $48.
Yeah, it's our Twitter accounts have tweeted out the links. If you want to find it that way, you can head to allphly.com. I mean, I think Fran Duffy's film analysis of Eagles games is worth it in itself. So hopefully we'll see some of you newcomers in the Discord channel, and we'll chop it up and have a good time.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. It's a great opportunity for everybody to get a nice deal. So let's start off with a little bit of zen. I think we all could use a moment of zen right now, especially when you think about the fact that we're going to be getting into all of the off-season talk. We're going to be looking at the World Series. There's a lot of things going on right now that can make you very frustrated as a Philly sports fan in general. So I think we need a moment of zen right now just to take a trip down memory lane, because it was on this day 2 years ago, which is crazy to even think about, that it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years ago that we had Bedlam at the Bank. On this day back in 2022, our young, naive selves were enjoying the Phillies. They advanced to the World Series with a 4-3 victory over San Diego. It was Game 5 of the NLCS at Citizens Bank Park, down 3-2, bottom of the 8th, and it was Bryce Harper that delivered a 2-run homer, which led to Bedlam at the Bank. I know it was tweeted out today by Luke Arcani, I think is how you say his last name. Apologies.
Arciani?
Arciani, I think.
I got the clarification. It's Luke Arcani.
Arcani.
Right.
Ah, thank you, JP.
I think Luke works with our man Roy.
Yeah, Luke does great work.
Yeah.
And Luke, thankfully, tweeted out this moment, and I feel like it's a great moment of zen for all of us to kickstart our Wednesdays. JP, hit it.
Listen how loud that place was.
This is sad.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Bryce Harper. Suarez delivers. Swing and a drive. Left field. It's deep. It's gone. Yes. And it is gone. Yes.
I love LA.
Bedlam at the Bank as Bryce Harper has put the Phillies on top.
Very, very cool moment in Phillies history.
Oh, listen to that sound.
His 10th career home run in the postseason. And
Wow.
he may never hit a bigger one.
2 years ago.
Wow. Wow. 4-3 Phillies in the bottom of the 8th inning.
You forget like what a tight butt game that was. 4-3, like that atmosphere, how loud that was. Let's go Phillies.
Oh, man.
And Fransky and LA are just the absolute greatest. They're so good at what they do.
What a time. What a time. We were
2
so
years
naive.
ago.
We were so just happy to be there. And so excited because we just had, you know, a team that
future was
barely
so
made
bright.
the future was so bright. It was a team
it
that
still is
barely
bright.
made it into the playoffs, and it just felt, I mean, as a Cinderella run to the World Series.
Really
that was
was.
that moment where you were just kind of like, this is never going to happen again. I mean, Bellum at the bank, that whole run was incredible. The expectation was not there. You know, you get back to the playoffs for the first time and you're just happy to be in the playoffs.
Sure.
And then they just keep winning games and winning games. So it is sad when you think about how much has changed since then and how much we drastically have been
I pulled up the box score just to
tortured.
remember the good times. Rhys Hoskins had a great game, 2 RBIs, had the 1 home run, and of course the back spike and 3 at bats. JT Realmuto was batting in the 3 hole for you that game. Bryce Harper was in the 4 hole. JT came through with 2 hits, a run scored. Of course, Bryce. Schwarber let it off. He scored a run. Bottom of the order didn't do a whole lot for you, but the heart of your order kind of carried you. And then I also forget, because there's so many baseball games, your mind just becomes like a baseball game, like blur. At least it does to me. Like, I couldn't have told you that Zach Wheeler started that game. And Zach Wheeler went 6 innings that game, only 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 8 Ks. And then listen to this lineup of bullpen that came out. Sir Anthony Dominguez, Jose Alvarado, David Robertson came in for an out, did give up 2 walks. And then Ranger Suarez closes it out for the final 2 outs. You know, Ranger closing out an NLCS at home, it's wild to think about, but that was really a great game. And I don't think I have the stomach for that anymore. You know, like, it was kind of like blind, like, naivete, like okay, we have no expectations, so we can't get hurt. Now things are totally different. Like, I don't go into playoff games anymore with that same feeling of like hope. Now it's just like dread and tight ass and like gripping like armrests and like, it's got to get done. This team's core is now. So it's totally changed over a quick 2 years.
It is crazy when you think about it, because that was a time that we were just so naive, eyes wide open, just excited to be here, just happy to be in that moment.
Just happy to be there.
And
now we're miserable.
When you listen to the crowd noise,
So loud.
it's just so loud, such a raw feeling of like being encouraged, being just excited, and honestly not caring what happened, because you were just so happy the Phillies were there. Whereas you look and fast forward to last season and definitely this postseason, every game, definitely by the playoffs, you have so much expectation for this team. And it does add an additional level of like nerves, because you're not as genuinely happy. Now we're very critical. Now we're like, oh no, they're not winning games. They didn't score runs. They're not, because you have the high expectation. The bar is so much higher than what it used to be. So
pressure is
definitely
now
missed
real.
that time.
But like, imagine, I know they're professional
This is the
athletes,
reality.
and like, you can, the reason they're great is they can separate themselves from kind of like our view and perspective of it. But if we're as tight-assed now as
like
fans,
tight butts.
like, imagine what they feel. You know what I mean? Like, they have to feel that to a degree. The thing with athletes is, I don't know if you know this, but they're human beings.
Are they?
Yes, and they
Plot
are
twist.
affected by real life issues and things.
I thought they
and
were aliens.
They feel feelings and they bleed blood and they breathe air. That's all facts.
Wow.
Yeah, you can look that up. I believe Google has
I'll hit the Google.
quick hit on that. But like, I bet there's a sense of pressure that they feel internally because it is different now. Like, obviously you'd love to just win one with house money and not have that pressure build and kind of snowball on you. So hopefully they can separate themselves from that this year, because now you look back on this postseason and I don't know, maybe the pressure was too much for them. And maybe they need kind of like that reset. And I don't know. But those are just the thoughts flooding through my brain.
Yeah, and I know in the chat, Spiral Out, Ben Ace, PSU Iverson, different, everybody tuned in on Twitter, tuned in live on YouTube or on Roku. When you really think about this team, to your point, Jamie, there's so much more pressure on, like, that we feel as fans, that we feel as media, that we feel as people watching on the outside. They feel that internally.
Yeah.
And I also think that is partly why, to me, you cannot continue to run it back, unfortunately. Like how many times do you hear, especially when players are retired, how many times do you hear players say, I helped build the foundation of that championship team, but I didn't get to enjoy the championship. And that's the reality, I think, of sports, is sometimes you might be the ones that like get them to the promised land, but you don't get to enjoy it because it's time to bring in someone new. And I think for this group to have had so many of the same players since that 2022 run, you now have that feeling of expectation that's almost like an entitlement of, I deserve to be there because we were there, because we got there in 2022. We're going to get back and we're going to get further this time. And that's not easy to do.
No,
I mean,
not.
How many times do teams regress after making a run to a championship? How many times do teams get to a final and then they don't get back for years? It takes a long time, or it takes a lot of work, I should say, to even be able to run it back and be back-to-back champions, let alone back-to-back, finalists. So I do think, to your point, the reality is there's pressure in this clubhouse.
JT Realmuto, like, not to like pinpoint him, but like, hey, look, he's human. He looks in the mirror and he goes, all right, how many, he can play baseball for a lot more time. I'm not saying his career's almost over, but like, he's probably thinking of his reality of like, all right, how many more like great years can I give this team?
Yeah.
His contract's coming up in the near future. So he might look at it like, damn, this is the most talented team I've ever been on. And I'm not getting any younger. And I came off of a knee injury this year. Like, they probably feel a little bit of that clock ticking internally. Kyle Schwarber's got a year left. Nick Castellanos has 2 years left. Like, Father Time is probably entering their mind like, all right, damn, we didn't get it done this year. We only got like 2 more cracks of this, maybe with our core. And that's where the offseason discussion becomes kind of fascinating, right? Because like you said, you don't really want to just run it back per se again, just because it's tough to make changes. You have some immovable pieces, like, so you're landlocked into a lot of these guys, and the moves you can make. Look, we talked about them. The 2 big ones on the fringe are Ranger and Bohm. Like, if you wanted to give something to get something and change things up, like, those are the pieces you might have to think about moving. Johan Rojas, Brandon Marsh, like, guys like the fringe pieces are the pieces that are movable. Yeah. And, you got to give something to get something. So if you do want to change it, then it becomes the difficult conversation of like, okay, what do we do now? Who can we part with? How can we take this the next step?
That is the reality.
Within a certain fiscal number too, like, you can't just go out and sign Juan Soto and like, there is a relative, financial cap to this.
That money is real.
Yes.
That does exist. There
John
are financial caps.
Not just going to keep going.
This is not monopoly money. But it does make you really wonder in terms of the pressure of getting to a World Series, but then also the pressure of knowing you're aging, you're over 30. And that is a difficult part. As much as it's difficult to have the plus 30-year-olds that are naturally physically regressing, and I know I actually feel this way myself as an adult. I find myself naturally thinking like, I'm such a nostalgic person. This is the last time we're going to do this. This might not ever happen again. The clock is ticking on this. You naturally have pressure as an adult that you didn't realize when you were young, stupid, and just going with the flow. So this team definitely has had a number of areas that they might be dealing with pressure, which I think is a great way for us to get into our grades. But first, let's take care of some business. Because before we get into grading our trio of outfielders today, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about our friends that you can call on when it's game time. Game time back in 2022 with the NLCS on the line. Game 5, bottom of the 8th inning. Bryce Harper stepped up, delivered, to send the Phillies to the World Series for the first time since 2009. When it's game time, who can you count on? It's our friends over at the Game Time app, of course, because they're going to provide you with awesome opportunities to get tickets. They've got their Game Time picks, which just essentially means, and I've used it myself, they're going to show you of all the options of tickets available, the tickets that have the best value and the best price, so the best seats, but also the best price to minimize having to feel overwhelmed sifting through all of the different options for tickets you can purchase. And they also have tickets around any games, whether you're going to football game, basketball game, it's hockey season, it's all the sports are overlapping right now, soccer games, whatever you're looking to attend, baseball games, or if you're trying to go to a concert, a comedy show, a theater, a musical, there are tons of events. The Game Time app will continue to notify you as new tickets drop in your area. They share those prices with you, so you're always getting the alerts on those awesome deals. And they want to provide you with a great pricing. So with the Game Time app, you know you're going to get the ability to get the Game Time picks. You're also going to get a chance to see your seats. So now you have an idea where you're going to be located at that event to be able to watch the game. So a nice seat view to know exactly where you and your friends or whoever you're going to that event with can be seated for the fun. Plus, they just take the stress out of buying tickets. We cannot guarantee the game won't be stressful, but we can guarantee buying tickets can be. With super deals, with seat views, with the lowest price guaranteed, as well as some protections around any event cancellation or job loss protection, different protections they have in place, you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code PHLY, which gets you $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Again, create an account, use code PHLY, and get $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? Game time!
Wow, the barking and everything on a Wednesday. Let me tell you about another company that has stood the test of time. You probably all know the jingle by now. That's because Empire Today is quality. You don't stand the test of time unless you're quality and you have great customer service and a great product most of all. And right now, if you head to empiretoday.com/PHLY, you can get $350 off your new floors. And if you're anything like me, I hate going to those big box stores. I can never get, somebody to help me, somebody that knows what they're talking about. It's just you get lost, you wander, it's a waste of time. Well, Empire Today said, we're not going to do that to you. We're going to come right to your front door and give you that shop at home convenience. They'll listen to you, hear what you want, and offer you the best products. Stuff they would put in their own home is what they'll bring you. And they have this beautiful virtual floor designer, which will show you exactly what those floors look like right under your roof, within your own walls, with your own furniture, and boom, you know exactly what you're getting. And they service their own warranties, so you're not going to have to track down some manufacturer if an issue does arise. Just call Empire themselves, and they'll take care of it. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code PHLY. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHLY for details.
All right, as we are tuned in now and we're live here on PHLY Phillies presented by Ace Hardware Home Services all postseason, let's get into our grades because we have had a chance to take time to go player by player. We did the infield already. Now we're shifting into the first grouping of the outfield. Now, Jamie, I'll let you pick since you let me pick yesterday of who we want to go with first because we're going to talk Austin Hayes, Johan Rojas, Kyle Schwarber. There's a lot to talk about.
Let's just start with the meat. Kyle Schwarber.
The meat.
I mean, he is meaty. He's a home run hitter, so those are your meat of the order guys.
Start with the meat and potatoes.
Hey, he looks like a guy that enjoys a steak. I think
he definitely looks like a guy that enjoys a steak.
I think meat very much applies to Kyle Schwarber.
He's probably the guy that sits down at the table with multiple plates and is like the last one getting up.
He kind of looks like
a
gentle meathead, like a kind meathead.
Oh, like not a mean guy, not like a douche,
like a good dude.
Yeah,
but a meathead.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. I'm totally picking up.
You can be a good meathead.
That's a real thing.
There's bad meatheads.
That's also very real.
Yeah.
But this one's a good one. We've got a good egg. All right, let's get into Kyle Schwarber, the good meathead. Because Kyle Schwarber does have his final year of his contract he's heading into in 2025. Here's some of the numbers that we had from Mr. Leadoff himself. As the DH this season, we did see some outfield play from him, which is why he's in the outfield group, of course. He played 150 games this season. He had a 248, 366, 485 slash line with 137 OPS plus. He did smash 38 home runs with 104 RBIs, 60 extra base hits, and 5 for speedy, slender Schwarber stolen bases. His leadoff home run record, 15. set a whole Major League Baseball record for Kyle Schwarber. Now, for Kyle Schwarber, before I give you my actual grade, this was a great season for him, in my opinion. I thought that he lost a lot of weight. He looked much better in his base running, and also he just looked much better overall around his consistency. He was someone that took strides and was able to really be Mr. Reliable at times. And so I enjoyed the strides that he took this season. When you look at those numbers, I enjoy the fact that Kyle Schwarber was one that caught us by surprise in the early parts of the season. He definitely did a good job with his exit velocity at times. I mean, even late in the season, he was smashing balls. His postseason hits that he had were some of the highest exit velocities he had in his career. You know, you just saw him hitting a whole new tier of strength and power, of speed. He also was 9th across the league in runs, 8th in home runs, 10th in RBIs, and 3rd, unfortunately, in strikeouts. But Kyle Schwarber was one that, with all the records that he made, even all the questions people have had around him as leadoff hitter, becoming the first Phillies player to have back-to-back 100 RBI seasons since Ryan Howard did it from 2006 to 2011. And for Kyle Schwarber to have had this season that, although he struggled in the postseason after that leadoff home run, I thought it was a solid year. I thought he could have given you more. Absolutely. But I thought that he was one that, for the most part, when you really think about his splits and his numbers, especially in the season when they were struggling, he was one that you could count on. I mean, from April to May to June to July, he was pretty consistent. There was a slight dip in July in terms of his hits, as he had 15 hits. He also was dealing with some injury, of course, which naturally is going to have you playing less games. So in July, he only played 18 games, still had 14 hits in those 18 games. His splits were very consistent throughout the course of the season. And it was that postseason after the leadoff home run that you kind of wanted more from him. Like, that home run was great in game 1 of the NLDS, but we needed more from you.
And crickets.
And then we saw nothing from you the remainder of the postseason. So that was not great at all. But I'm going to give Kyle Schwarber a B-.
B-?
I gave him a B-.
All right, so JP, this is, she's Professor Ice Queen. She has just hate and ice running through her veins when she gives out grades. She is diabolical, and then I'm like the hippy dippy, like, everybody tried hard and deserves good grades, guy. So
yeah, no,
you forget
up
you
on
that for the union show.
Yeah, no, seriously,
a B-.
Oh, that's low.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's how I
JP,
feel.
JP, start thinking of your Kyle Schwarber grade.
So
we'll need you to balance us out.
I just feel like, for Kyle Schwarber, much like I said with Trey Turner, the expectation is for you to be one of the top 3 guys on this team. Trey, Kyle, and Bryce are held to a higher standard. And yes, Kyle Schwarber, loved the fact he lost weight, loved the fact he looked fantastic at leadoff, how his base running was. Even his left field play was not bad. I mean, I didn't want to see him every day, but the times he was out there in left field, not awful. It's a B- for me. We need more from him. Kyle Schwarber needs to be the guy, similar to what we saw from even Nick Castellanos and Alec Boehm earlier on in the season. He needs to be a find the gaps guy, spray the ball around the field, give you, every time he's up to bat, give you something. It's a B-. And you can't disappear after that leadoff home run in the NLDS game 1. And then the rest of the postseason, we've got nothing from you.
Look, I'm giving him an A. And the only reason it's not an A+ is because of postseason recency bias. I'm fascinated that you gave him a B-.
I'm fascinated you gave him an A, like a 95, like a solid A.
I mean, this is a guy that increased his batting average nearly 30 points this year.
Oh my.
His on base went up 20 points. His strikeouts went down almost 20. He had 30 plus more hits than he did. While not, he did give up a little power. He went from 46, 47 to now 38. But I think that's something you can live with when he's batting in your leadoff spot, because he got on base. He had a ton of hits. A 366 on base is phenomenal from Kyle Schwarber. A 485 slugging, an 851 OPS, a 137 OPS plus. I would have given him an A+ if he had shown up in the playoffs. I thought he was really, really good this year. It helps that we don't have to see him in the field anymore. But to your point, he did look spry and quicker around the base pass. Appears to have lost a little weight, I think, this past offseason. Mm-hmm. So I was pretty thrilled with Kyle Schwarber. It's unfortunate the playoffs happened the way they did, but I think he's the stalwart of that locker room. He's the leader, and I thought he had a phenomenal year on the field.
Yeah, you're spot on, James. I mean, for me, I'll go somewhere in between. I'll probably go like
That's usually where Tyler ends up.
yeah, a B plus, A minus. And like, look, it's nothing to do. I mean, we know what Schwarber is. I mean, you know, at the leadoff spot, he's probably gonna get you some power, like you saw in Game 1. Like he got you that home run, and that was big, and that should have catapulted the Phillies into a win. But my problem with Kyle Schwarber, honestly, is nothing that Kyle Schwarber can control. Like, I think that's something they need to kind of explore. It's possibly moving him out of that leadoff spot.
I think it's an interesting part of this offseason, yeah.
They got to think outside the box, and that's something that you need to think about because of the power that you just mentioned. And look, he didn't have the same typical June, but it was still pretty good. But come playoff time, obviously, look, home runs are great. They're awesome. You know, Renee showed us the Bryce Harper one, and it gets the crowd going. But in playoff baseball, you do need to move runners, and the Phillies really struggled with that, especially against the Mets. And so my problem with Kyle Schwarber is what are you going to do with him? Not necessarily the player, but the coaching behind him.
Yeah.
No, that's a great point. And it's definitely, I mean, I could be talking to a B. I just,
Okay.
all right.
You're moving it up? Peer pressure to do a beer?
No, I mean, he did improve. You look at his splits last year to this year, a 197, 343, 474 split last season. That's now increased to a 248, 366, 45. The postseason really does sting, of course, because in the 4 games, for him to have 16 at-bats and give you 2 hits, and of course, one of those hits was his leadoff home run, that's unacceptable. Granted, it was unacceptable for everyone to be so bad in the playoffs. So that carries a lot of weight for me. And then I do, of course, feel like there were at times that we still got a bit of that home run or bust. Kyle Schwarber, I think, took major strides, but in my opinion, for a guy, again, 1 year left in his contract, the expectation for who he is for this team, I still want more from him. Was it a better season than last year? Yes. But
in terms of hits and on base and average,
yeah.
but you did sacrifice 12 home runs. So if you're Kyle Schwarber should swing out of his shoes and try to put the ball on Mars every plate appearance, then you could say it's a down season. But I think from where this team had him in the leadoff spot, I think he improved a lot as a leadoff hitter. So I do think what JP said is a fascinating part of this offseason. How much do they actually weigh a tinker now? Because, we've talked about it before. Bryce Harper needs better protection in this lineup. Alec Bohm and Nick Castellanos are not really 4-hole hitters. Yeah. They're great 5- and 6-hole hitters. But, whether you move Bryce Harper up, I know in Todd Zalecki's newsletter the other day,
he brought it up.
He mentioned Bryson Stott as a possibility. But we talked about Bryson Stott and his grading and the regression he took. So do you feel comfortable putting him in leadoff? So I'd love to be a fly on the wall in those discussions they're having this offseason.
Yeah, I know Tyler and I touched on it a little bit on Monday.
I thought that was an interesting nugget in Zalecki's newsletter.
It was interesting to bring up because Bryson Stott and Trey Turner have both been brought up as potential, outside of Bryce Harper, of course, potential guys that can move into that leadoff spot. Of course, as we know, it comes down to lefty-righty splits and different things like that. But when you look at the numbers for Kyle Schwarber in terms of his leadoff production, this season alone, he set so many records in the leadoff spot. His 100 RBIs that he had early on, but he had already tied 4th most. When you look at the total number of leadoff home runs, that record he set at 15. His overall RBIs that he had as a leadoff were the top ever. I mean, once he crossed 100 RBIs, that was already tied for 4th most out of the leadoff spot since the stat became official back in 1920. We know that others that had set the record back in 2023 was Mookie Betts. Ronald Acuna had set the record as well. He's joined company of some of them and shown he's one of the best leadoff hitters, not even for the Phillies, but in baseball history with his production. But for the Phillies offensively, does it make more sense for someone else to be leadoff if it allows you to have a better flow in terms of the rotation? So I don't think it would be anything that's a knock on Kyle Schwarber. To me, I think moving him out of the leadoff spot is not because he's struggling or he's bad as a leadoff hitter. It's more because it helps the team as a whole.
Yeah, I think he proved
to
he
have
did
a better
great
offense.
job at it this year.
So I still do feel like for Kyle, he's on the cusp of that B minus season. I still would
Can he be better utilized within the lineup?
I can't give anybody really a high grade except for 1 or 2 guys in terms of an A, because this team had such a poor second half of the season and a poor postseason. So it's hard for me to justify had things the last couple months been better, all these grades are bumped up. But as I said on day one, most times teachers curve up. I'm curving down.
Professor Ice Queen.
Curving down. Let's take a break because we do have some more grades to get into, and maybe they won't be as bad, or will they, for the next two guys that we have to grade. So first, let's take a break to talk some more business with you as we share some more about our friends over at Shady Rays. Because at Shady Rays, you can make sure to get the premium polarized sunglasses Shady Rays provides. And also what I like about Shady Rays is their sleek designs, because it's difficult, especially as a female, when it comes to hair and your sunglasses are getting put on your head and they're getting stuck and trapped in your hair and you're pulling them off and you can't see, or they're sliding off your face. I have a really narrow face and sunglasses tend to fall off my face. Shady Rays has a really good set of shades that they provide with all their hundreds of options that are quality shades built to last, sleek, durable, and you don't have to worry about some of those little things because they have tons of different designs, sleek looks, and different shapes that can fit whatever face you have. I think everybody has a face for sunglasses, but we all have a face for different styles of sunglasses. Shady Rays has all those styles for you, and with the hundreds of options to choose from, you can find what best matches your swag, your style, your look, your face with their durable frames. And if you don't believe me, trust the fact that they have been rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. That's right. Over 300,000 people have given them 5 stars. They offer a world-class product as an independent sunglasses company. You too can be rocking some Shady Rays. So exclusively for our listeners today, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. You can head to shadyrays.com and use code PHLY for 35% off your polarized sunglasses. Try them for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Again, that's shadyrays.com and use that code PHLY to get a nice 35% off.
And let me tell you about Golden Nugget Jewelers. They are a staple of Center City. And I know plenty of people that have gone to Golden Nugget Jewelers to get those engagement rings. And then once you're in there, you'll realize that they got everything for whoever in your life, whether it be a daughter, the love of your life, your mother, whoever, your husband. There's always something for everyone at Golden Nugget Jewelers. And while the Sixers begin their hunt for a new ring, you can chase down your ring at Golden Nugget Jewelers on the corner of 8th and Chestnut. You can't miss it. It's an institution. It's been family owned and operated since 1987. And if you're getting engaged, they have a wide assortment of rings and wedding bands to fit anyone's style. You receive a final cleaning and written appraisal with every engagement ring proposal you make. So go to Golden Nugget Jewelers. They got you set. Not just for wedding jewelry. You can find watches, diamond necklaces, diamond bracelets, earrings, and more. And we got the holiday season coming up. So make sure you go into Golden Nugget Jewelers to make that special person in your life feel good this holiday season. You deserve an expert and the best price. And Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Head over to goldennuggetjewelers.com to learn more.
All right, we are here on PHLY Phillies podcast presented by Ace Hardware Home Services, where you can get started on your next project with Ace Hardware Home Services. Giving out some grades. We start out with Kyle Schwarber, and for JP, Jamie, and myself, we're kind of staggered. I'm interested to see if we are on the same page in terms of the next two guys. Let's get into Johan Rojas next, since he did have a longer time with the Phillies before we get into Austin Hayes. So for Yo-Ro, as I call him, Johan Rojas played 120 games this past season. He had splits of a 243, 279, 322, and then a 69 OPS plus. Johan had a total of 3 home runs, 32 RBIs, 18 extra base hits, and 25 stolen bases. He also finished in the bottom 5% in hard hit percentage and
walk percentage.
Exit velocity.
Exit velocity, yeah.
I'm like, what is EV? Exit velocity and hard hit percentage and walk percentage. There we go.
Good.
That's not great at all. So for center fielder Johan Rojas, how do you grade him? It's a tricky one because, again, I'm going based off of expectation. As you know, Johan Rojas is someone near and dear in my heart that I really try to root for. I even gave him a nickname.
You gave him a nickname, yeah.
I even gave him a nickname. And so because of that, he automatically gets an A+. And I'm just kidding. I don't know what to grade him. I kind of toyed back and forth. No, I kind of.
I changed it.
My
gut.
So I have agreed. For me, for Johan Rojas, we don't expect him to be the offensive. He's not going to be a power hitter. He's not going to be someone that's got anything offensively that he can contribute. But it's not an excuse. You know, like I think for everybody, whether it was Garrett Stubbs is just the vibes guy or Johan Rojas is just the defense guy, at the end of the day, this team, in order for them to win, you need to be able to improve on those areas. Did Johan Rojas improve this season? Sure. The start of the season for Johan Rojas, he had a rough beginning where the first half of the season had a split of 231, 267, 298 with a WRC plus of just 58. That was heading into the All-Star break. As we know, then the Phillies moved him down to AAA mid-June. It was June 17th. And then after being recalled from the Lehigh Valley, he actually seemed like he took some steps forward.
Yeah.
So after coming back in his next stretch, his splits were 382, 417 with a .917, a home run, and 34 at-bats. So the next 34 at-bats were great for Johan Rojas. And to be honest, down the stretch, he wasn't a guy, he didn't help you at all, but he wasn't the one that was killing you. But that's
debatable.
But then you got to the playoffs, and he was one that was an automatic out. So for me, for Johan Rojas, the offense did improve. The defense was lights out, which we expected in the second half of the season. He still had some moments, where he seemed a bit timid and hesitant, especially after that play early on when he ran into the wall. And then remember after that, he became a little bit hesitant with his center field play and was kind of like second guessing himself. I'm going to give Johan Rojas a C+.
Oh. All right, I think we have role reversal here.
Oh, are you higher? You're lower.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's interesting. I'm going to give him a C+ strictly because it's the complete opposite of Kyle Schwarber. Like, I'm grading him with less expectation,
Yeah,
but
that's
I
fair.
still think that he needs to be someone that gives you more. Like, it's not enough. It's been a whole season that you've had a chance to play 120 games. You need to find a way to give better offense, or else you're not going to be an everyday starter. Your role is going to be lost if you can't figure out a way to give better offense, because this team needs someone that can give you play on both sides of the ball. So I'm going to stick with a C+ as like my final answer, I think, for Johan. Could be also talking to like a C, but I don't think he's the guy that this team, you're not winning and losing games behind Johan, but he still needs to be better.
My original grade I wrote down was a C-. I
boy.
changed that this morning to a D+.
We are reversed.
Look, yeah, the expectation thing is fair, and you're not looking for Johan Rojas to be a 750 OPS guy that bats 320 and drives in 75 RBIs. So you do look at him through that prism, but I also looked at him through the prism of this is a major year and a major opportunity for him to show you that he can give you more offense than what he's shown in the past. His defense is otherworldly, right?
Yeah.
Like the best in baseball. His speed, his tracking of the balls, he's great. So defensively, like A+. Speed on the base pass when he does get on there, again, like A+. That's
Some of
great.
his base running's not great, but yeah.
Yeah, his base running mentally probably some different, but like the speed on the pass and just the athleticism is wow. That being said, it's 2 postseasons in a row where he's been an automatic out come the playoffs. They
Yeah.
gave him every opportunity to take the job and run this year. And the reason it's a D+ ultimately for me is because I don't want him to be the center fielder next year.
D+ for don't come back.
Yeah, like kinda, like pretty much. It's nothing against the kid. Teams will have interest in him. He can salvage. I don't even know if salvage is, that might be too harsh a word. He can keep a major league career going. I just don't necessarily want it to be here. The defense can change a team,
Yeah.
but I think the Phillies right now just can't have that offensive hole in the lineup. I mean, his
Yeah.
OPS was 600, which was slightly better than I thought this year, but his batting average 243, 279 on base. If you had told me that prior to the year that he was going to hit 243, I probably would have said, yeah, I'll take it. 273 OBP, that's just terrible. I just need more. It's nothing really, his offensive game is what it is. I don't think it's going to get better. It's just me kind of making a move on from Johan Rojas. I just think you need more offensively from your center fielder. You can't have
fair.
2/3 of the outfield be what it was this year.
Yes.
So,
yes.
to me, somebody's going to have interest in Rojas. If you can move him for, that 4A type of player, maybe a major league bench player, I don't know. I'm open to suggestions.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately why, for me, he's a C+, because I also feel like he just shouldn't be out there as much as he is. And that's not his fault. That's on the team needed to
The
bring
team needs
to
somebody
bring
that
in a
can
better
grind
center
out
fielder.
some at-bats for
so
you.
he'd be a fine defensive bench piece.
And if Kyle Schwarber does stay in the leadoff, you need your 9-hole hitter to be that grinder, a guy that can have a better than a 273 on base. Like you need somebody that can get on base at like a near 300 clip or a 310 clip to take advantage of Schwarber in the leadoff. So it's not really like his fault per se. I just don't see it working with this lineup.
And he was another guy that struggled, of course, in the postseason. He didn't have as many at-bats as others. He only had 5, but just 1 hit in that at-bat. Last postseason, he had 4 total hits in his 43 at-bats in the postseason.
Yikes.
So to your point of like
back-to-back
playoffs that he
drives me
struggled.
nuts.
He can't bunt. He doesn't give you anything offensively. I just don't think he should be out there as much as he is. I think he'd be fine as a depth piece in some role, some capacity as a defender. Defensive piece. But JP, what is your grade for Yoro for the season? Where do you fall?
It's funny because I had a C-. I actually
That's
have
where I was.
I have a C- for Johan Rojas, and I think Jamie was spot on. I mean, obviously the dude can play center field. Like he's got a really good glove, and like that's like the one thing. Like how can you take that mentality you have out in center field and bring it over to the plate? Because once he gets a bat, I mean, he just looks kind of lost at times, and he just loses it. It's pretty wild, but it's gonna be tough to replace 2/3 of the outfield. So I mean,
you're probably only changing one, right?
Yeah, it's probably Johan.
And I think Marsh is the easiest solution is probably platoon Marsh in center and then get a new left fielder, but we'll see.
That'd be a plan that I'd be in on, but again,
it's
gonna be.
But Marsh also can't hit.
I know.
Lefties. So it's like there's imperfections
they
everywhere.
can hit righties.
At this point, it's pick your poison.
Johan can't hit either.
Yeah, and then do you want like basically like what you just brought up? The easiest solution is Brandon Marsh goes to center field.
Yeah.
He's an okay defensive center fielder, has value in this league, yada yada. But you can't platoon him with Rojas then.
No.
Because if Rojas can't really hit either, and if you're sitting Marsh every time he's facing a lefty, you need a platoon piece to supplement him. So it's like it's kind of a murky situation with center field.
Oh my God, how did we get here?
How did we get here is the real question.
I just wish
is
Rojas
wild.
ran
You
with
know
it
how we
this
got
year.
here? The Phillies didn't do much during the trade deadline offensively to help their outfield because the
we
player
have
they
to?
did acquire at the outfield was Austin Hayes. Austin Hayes, who came over to the Phillies from the Baltimore Orioles in the trade, played a total of 22 games with the Phillies. He had a 256, 275, 397 split with an 86 OPS plus, hit a pair of home runs, 2 total, 6 RBIs, 7 extra base hits, just 2 stolen bases, and he was acquired at the trade deadline. Now, for Austin Hayes, who came into this team, he was someone that was a 2023 All-Star for the Orioles. He also had a .699 OPS in 85 games between the Orioles and the Phillies, and he is also expected to... when you look ahead, he's arbitration eligible, so they could tender his contract because he also is expected to possibly be worth a deal around $6.4 million is some of the numbers that I've been heard floated out for him. That's a whole other conversation itself. But for the lone start that he did get, the only start he had, which was Game 3 in the NLDS, was 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. As we know for Austin, it was the kidney, well, not in this order. He dealt with the back injury, the hamstring injury, the kidney infection, all 3 injuries that he dealt with throughout the course that had him miss a ton of games. He was brought in with the expectation, as Rob Thompson mentioned, for him to be an everyday left fielder. And then with injuries, wasn't able to play at all. So then it became, is he going to be a platoon guy? And they tried to roll him out there in the playoffs. He was not ready. But for him to have struggled so much, it's unfortunate because of the injuries, you don't know what you could have got from him because he was, to deal with 3 major injuries, especially the kidney infection that have you out.
Yeah.
You just have no idea in those 80 plate appearances really what you can get. He was a negative .1 F-WAR. He had an 85 WRC plus, 0 walk percentage, 23.8 K percent rate. You just have no idea what to expect from it. It just was not a good move. It played out poorly, and not only did it give you bad offense, but he also couldn't stay healthy. So again, I'm not blaming him for getting a kidney infection. That's not on him. Even the hamstring in the back, not fully on him. But you brought him in with the expectation to be an everyday left fielder, and he couldn't even play. let
Yeah.
alone like before they struggled on the offense, he physically couldn't even play. So just a bad deal all around. I give Austin Hayes, and I hate to say this because it was 22 games, and even for me as Professor Ice Queen, it's
Wow.
really
Where
hard
you
to say
going?
this. I'm going with a D.
Oh, okay. I'm same ballpark. I'm
Yeah.
going D plus.
Yeah.
And again,
It's a D for me.
The notes, hard to really roast a guy for getting a hamstring and a kidney infection.
Yeah.
But the unfairness of the trade deadline piece added to a championship caliber team is you're stacked up against the other players that were traded at the deadline in similar
Lane
positions.
Thomas.
And, you see a Lane Thomas contributing in an ALCS for the Guardians and the divisional series. You see Tommy Edman, who becomes the NLCS MVP. And these are all trade deadline pieces. And I know, like, the conversation we've had in our Discord here, by the way, there's new cheap diehard memberships for you if you want to hop in, is kind of like, and I've seen this on social media, and well, you can't look to the trade deadline piece to be the catalyst for a championship. You can't count on them to carry you.
Edman.
And then I see Tommy Edman just on fire in the NLCS, like helping carry the Dodgers team. Yes, I can expect a trade deadline piece to help the team. That's exactly what they're supposed to do. You identify the holes in your team for 100 games or whatever the trade deadline is, 115, whatever. You identify the holes in your team, and then you go, okay, of who's available, how can I best supplement my
Bingo.
team? And Lane Thomas, in hindsight. Now, granted, we have the vision of 2020 in hindsight here, but Lane Thomas was a better pick.
And we talked about Lane
Who knows if Randy
Thomas.
Arozarena plays better in Philly in that
Exactly.
lineup than he does in Seattle. Tommy Edmonds on fire. There were pieces that helped teams, and once again,
Yeah.
excuse me, and I guess this is more of a Dave Dombrowski grade than a Austin Hayes trade, because the shame of it is he does smash lefties.
The D does go for Dave Dombrowski.
Yeah, but
Didn't do well.
This is the guy they've targeted for 2+ years now, according to him. I just didn't see it, and D plus. There is that option. They're gonna have to walk away from him. Please do. I do not want Austin. Tyler at the end of the year was like, Austin Hayes is going to be their starting left fielder next year. He still has a year option left. And I was like,
They don't have to. They can tender that contract.
yeah. So
Chicken tender it away.
I don't want that. I don't think Phillies fans want that. Best of luck, Austin Hayes. Hope you're healthy next year. I just hope it's in a different uniform.
If one of two things had happened, if he was either healthy and struggled, or unhealthy and did well, I think I could justify it. But to be unhealthy
Sure.
and struggle, it's well, there's no guarantee you're going to be healthy. So we can bring you back, and all off season you have this winter plan for him to give you better play,
HGH.
better plate appearances. And then you still are dealing with injuries, because he also was dealing with injuries with the Orioles. Everything that we saw with him in a Phillies uniform is not a surprise. He wasn't a guy that came to Philly and became injured like typically we get in Philly sports. He was a guy that already was dealing with injuries. So
D
you can't
plus.
have both. And I do think,
I'm in.
to your point, when you look around the other trade deadline moves, he was literally probably one of the worst ones. Of all the guys that moved the trade deadline, you are literally getting Grand Slam Lane Thomas, NLCS MVP, kidney infection, and 22 games.
Yeah, it sucked.
It's bad.
Everything about it sucked.
JP, where are you at for your Austin Hayes grade?
Yeah, I'm a D as well. It's unfortunate again, right? He's dealing with those injuries. But I think more importantly, these deadlines this year and last year have not been great. I mean,
Brutal.
last year, Michael Lorenzen, Rodolfo,
Rodolfo Castro, baby.
Right.
How could you forget Rodolfo?
Dude. And then obviously this, Estevez, I can't kill. I didn't think he was terrible. I also
Yeah.
didn't think he was
Estevez
lights
was
out.
okay.
Right.
Wasn't great, wasn't bad.
Best walkout song in baseball, but that doesn't help win baseball games. But yeah, then you have Austin Hayes, who we all thought that would be great, and it really was just dude, just hit the lefties, man. That's what Brandon Marsh struggled. Just hit those lefties, and
That's it.
unfortunately, he just couldn't get really good on the field to begin with. But I'm with you, James. I mean, I wouldn't be mad on parting ways with this one, but it's just tough. But I'm going to go with D. It's kind of hard to kind of criticize him as well.
Triple D's for Austin Hayes, and not any good ones. Not great when you are acquired at the trade deadline, and it's a really bad move. Again, it just was not a good fit, and would not be upset if Austin Hayes moved on. Seems like a nice guy, I guess. Just didn't work. Just did not work out. No bad blood there. But also, as we are nearing the end, just want to hit on some other things as we wrap up. We will have more grades coming your way every day. We'll be grading individual seasons for the Phillies. We've got Group 2 of the outfield tomorrow, so we'll be getting into Brandon Marsh, Nick Castellanos, Cal Stevenson, Buddy Kennedy. No.
Yeah, we can throw him in. I mean,
I don't know
quick
if you
grade.
have
I
him,
don't have
but-
any at-bat. We should probably
like
have an
3
at-bat
at-bats.
minimum.
Yeah, I don't know if he meets the minimum requirements. But definitely Cal, Nick, and Brandon. And then, of course, we'll continue working through the positions. So in some other news around Major League Baseball, just to run through, we did get some positive news and exciting news because it's award season, guys. And that includes the Players' Choice Awards. And it reminds us of, as Jamie was saying, the People's Choice Awards that Nickelodeon used to give out with the blimps. It is not that. The players get a chance to vote for who they feel like were the best in respective categories. So, for example, the 3 finalists that were announced for Player of the Year for 2024, Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, and Bobby Witt Jr. But we did get one guy. Of all the different options, there were various categories. It was Best Player of the Year. It was Outstanding Player of the Year, which is very synonymous in my opinion. It was Outstanding Pitcher Award, Outstanding Rookie Award, Outstanding or Philanthropist of the Year, Marvin Miller Man of the Year, Triple M. So with all these options, we did get one person. Did you look at this list? Do you
I
know
did not look at it,
Do you
no.
know who we had represented on this list?
Did Kyle Schwarber get the Philanthropic Community Service
That'd be a good guess.
Good Guy Award?
I could see that.
No.
But that's a no.
Did Bryce Harper get like is there a National League like something or other?
There was a National League
like Slugger Award.
Outstanding Player Award.
Was he in the running for that?
No.
Let's see. Who was great? Matt Strom and Jeff Hoffman. Did they get like?
There was no reliever that fell apart in the postseason award.
What else we got here?
You're like, how are you?
Did Ranger get the cute, adorable boy award?
No, there was a comeback player award. I forgot that also.
Okay.
Skip that list. And there was the Kurt Flood Award, a player who
That's a big one,
demonstrated
yeah.
selfless long time devotion.
Kurt Flood changed the way players got paid.
Yeah.
He was a major part of Major League Baseball history.
What's your final guess? I feel like you're missing a name.
Oh, Zach Wheeler.
Zach Wheeler.
The best pitcher.
Come on, the only one that we can rely on.
Yeah. That guy, old reliable.
He's probably the only one getting an A in my grades, by the way.
I was only thinking offense for some dumb
I
reason.
know.
But
Yeah, Zach
Okay.
Wheeler was nominated as one of the finalists, I should say, for the Outstanding Pitcher Award for the National League. So
who was it? Tarek Skubal, Zach Wheeler, and...
So for the AL it was Tarek Skubal, Emmanuel Clase, and Logan Gilbert.
Okay.
And then for the NL was Chris Sale, Paul Skeens, and Zach Wheeler.
Skeens has plenty of time to win awards.
Yeah, don't give him awards now.
Chill out, Paul Skeens.
Yeah, relax.
You got
calm
Livy
down.
Dunn.
And
You
Chris
got your,
Sale's
your boat vacations in Jupiter, Florida right now. I know. I follow her. For the advertisements, clearly, and the LSU gymnastic updates. But chill out, it's Paul Skeens. You got plenty of awards to come your way. Right now, let Zach and Chris fight this. Give Zach this one because Chris is going to get the Cy
exactly.
Young, you know?
That
Chill
would be
out,
some
Paul. You got
justice.
plenty of
That'd be
time.
some baseball justice.
Do you follow Livy Dunn?
No, I'm not the type. I don't.
JP, do you follow
No.
Livy Dunn?
Can't say I do, James. Sorry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't really follow celebrities though, like quote unquote celebrities. I have a small select few. You probably know.
Renee and I had this conversation too because obviously with the union, you don't get a lot of news updates, but the players are very active on their stories.
Sure, yeah.
So I got a
Right.
lot of updates like
Yeah.
that.
I don't follow them either, but I know you do, JP. So yeah, no, can't say I'm a Livy Dunn follower. But in terms of some other pitching updates, we did get some sad news as the legendary pitcher that did at one point play with the Phillies as well, but most legendary known for his career with the Dodgers, Fernando Valenzuela, did pass away at the age of 63.
That one hurt.
He won the NL Cy Young Award
Man.
and Rookie of the Year in 1981. He was a Mexican-born superstar.
Yeah.
Superstar.
Beast.
He got his first professional contract at the age of 16. He got called up to the Dodgers. And very sad news to hear that he unfortunately has passed away at a very young age. Great charisma, great person, became a broadcaster after his career and finished his with his career alone. Like you look at the 1981 season for him, 13-7 record with a 2.48 ERA, 11 complete games, 8 shutouts, led the NL in innings pitched, led the NL in strikeouts, and became the first player in that season to win Rookie of the Year and Cy Young. So for him to have had a chance to really open the door as a superstar that he was, and did play with the Phillies, did play with a number of teams.
1994, right before the strike.
Yes, exactly. So he played with the California Angels in 91, the Baltimore Orioles in 93, the Phillies in 94, the Padres for a couple of seasons, the Cardinals, and then did retire with the Dodgers ultimately. But sad news to hear that he passed away.
Yeah, from 1981 to like 1986, he was one of the, probably top 3 pitchers in baseball.
Yeah.
Just listen to these innings pitched. 285, 257, 261, 272,
Holy.
269, 251. And then the year he won the Cy Young and all that was 192, which led Major League Baseball that year. So the guy was an absolute horse. JP, if you want to talk about his impact, globally,
yeah,
like Fernando was... He was it, man.
Yeah.
Like he was the lefty for the Dodgers that had ice in his veins. He was a beast. So, all the best to him and his family and friends.
He inspired generations of not only Mexican but Latino players for that we're seeing obviously here today. And I'll say this: one of my favorite 30 for 30s was his.
Oh yeah,
it was
that is a good
really.
one.
That's how I learned about it because
Yeah,
obviously
sure.
wasn't there in the 80s. But,
but I don't recall seeing him pitch much into the 90s. I think I saw him, but he was on his last legs at that point.
But dude, like he captivated, and that's why like the Dodgers have such a huge Mexican fan base. Like that's what it really
That is
started.
true.
And
Yeah,
we're
it's a good
definitely
point.
gonna miss him, man.
Yeah, R.I.P. Fernando.
Yeah, sad news for Fernando and his wife Linda, who's a school teacher from Mexico, who he got married to back in '81. So not only was he Rookie of the Year and Cy Young, but he married his wife in '81 as well.
The year
what a
of Fernando.
year!
Yeah.
And then he does have his daughters Linda and Maria, and 7 grandchildren that have survived him. So sending our condolences to Fernando Valenzuela's family with his passing. And that'll do it for us here. We'll end on that sad news. We've got more to get into each and every day. We're here live 11 a.m. to noon, Monday to Friday. I know, K-Red, you're saying you're late to the show. It's okay. If you guys are late, we'll be back tomorrow.
Life gets in the way sometimes.
You can always check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Roku, wherever you get your podcasts, because we'll be here every day giving you grades and other updates around the league. So tomorrow we'll get into some more grades, plus talk about the Mets deserving a parade? Question mark? Yeah, okay. For JP, Jamie, myself, Renee, thank you so much for tuning in to PHLY Phillies presented by Ace Hardware Home Services. We will see you guys next time.